Everybody for joining us. We are at 3 minutes after the hour. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. So we'll try to get started today on time and end on time. Today's session is on accessibility and ServiceNow. I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. You all are familiar with Britta, our DJ here. She's going to be moderating and supporting the Q&A. My name is Vicki. I'm a senior outbound product manager. Some of you who are here might have known me in my previous role as a customer success manager here. And prior to my life as a customer success manager, I worked in accessibility policy and I was a special education teacher. So this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and I hope that you find it useful and interesting and productive to your work. Jeff?
All right, first off, I'm going to go on to video, which is rare for me. So let's make sure. All right, am I on video? Yes. So,
You are.
hi, my name is Jeff Gray. I have a very long job title. It's Vice President, my official title, Vice President Global Go-to-Market and Corporate Functions Recruiting and Internal Mobility. That's a long way of saying I run recruiting at ServiceNow. Um, I'm also visually impaired, and it's a great segue to, this topic because as somebody who works at ServiceNow, I also utilize our tools. Because I'm visually impaired, I'll be off camera most of the time because I actually use our accessibility tools and it doesn't work well when I'm on camera. But great to be here. I've been at ServiceNow for a little over 5 years. I absolutely love what I do. If you aren't connected to me on LinkedIn, feel free to send me an invite. I usually try to post at least once a week about what's going on at ServiceNow. And I live in Las Vegas. And like I said, it'll be 80 degrees today. Nice and warm. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Brad?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Brad Steinberg. I am the manager of ServiceNow development at Cozen O'Connor. Cozen O'Connor is a mid-sized law firm headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And in my role, I help lead the development efforts we have around the ServiceNow platform that offer experiences and applications to our staff and lawyers to help get their jobs done more efficiently. I also identify as neurodivergent, and I'm looking forward to talking more about what accessibility means to me and the experiences that I help build and provide the users at Cozen O'Connor.
Great. All right, so we're going to get started here. This is our safe harbor notice. Please do not make investing decisions or any decisions from this session. We'll send this to you, so feel free to look this over when we are through with the session. Okay.
And one more thing, I also do like to mention that the session is recorded and it will be posted and be publicly available. So to please not reveal any company confidential information or any other information that you would not want to be in a public space.
Thank you, Britta.
Yep.
Great. I always like to start off with this quote: everyone will use accessibilities at some point in their life. So accessibility is not just for people with disabilities. Accessibility is for anyone who can benefit from accessibility features. So we believe that we design products here that are inclusive and adaptable for all. So this ensures that no one is left behind when they need support. Today, we'll be talking a lot about accessibility, just generally a few tools we have, and we will be taking pauses to ask questions from the experts here that we thought might be helpful for you all to gain perspective about accessibility. Please use the Q&A function for any questions you have. We'll definitely capture them all. If we don't have time to address them on the call, we will address it on the blog post, and we'll be sure to answer any questions that you have. Making ServiceNow accessible ensures that everyone, regardless of their abilities, can effectively engage with the platform. So this is your end user, your platform owners, yourself. So it provides equal opportunities, and this generally improves user experience. And it makes everything more inclusive and efficient for all employees and customers. So accessibility features in all parts of the world, not just the digital world, are designed to oftentimes with accessibility in mind, but really do benefit everybody. So if you think about automatic doors. Automatic doors were designed for mobility challenges, but we all use them when we go to the grocery store or when perhaps you enter a building. So it's oftentimes a simple design choice that makes life easier and more convenient for us all. So, there's also another physical example are curb cuts. So while these do assist people with wheelchairs and mobility devices and crutches, this also assists mothers who are pushing children in strollers. And it makes it easier for those who perhaps don't use assistive tools in their physical while they're walking, but it could just make that transition while walking easier and safer and more efficient in public spaces. And one that we will be talking about again a little bit later today are voice assistants. I won't be saying the names of the products because they will start speaking on this call, but oftentimes you can say, "Hey, name" to your digital product in your house and ask for the weather, ask for what your schedule looks like today. So this not only helps visual people who are neurodivergent or people with visual impairments. These voice assistants are widely used by everyone. And they offer a convenient hand-free way of engaging with the tools that you need throughout the day. Awesome. And at this time, we're actually going to launch a poll really quickly just to get a pulse check before we get started with all of this interesting content. How would you rate your understanding of web accessibility in general? And it's okay if you feel like, you don't know the most. We'll be taking a post poll as well. We just would like to get an understanding of the audience. Amazing.
Well,
I see that about
it
half
looks
of
like,
us
oh, go ahead.
I see about half of us participated. Awesome. I see a lot of engagement. We have about 70%. Feel free to share. It's okay if you aren't super confident. Hopefully you're a little bit more confident when we leave. Great. And then we'll go ahead and end this poll now. And then share the results. So it looks like I have a pretty versed audience. So I'm excited to see that. And about half of our audience, could use a little bit more support. Hopefully you learn a bit about the products that we have in Yokohama. Okay. And then we have one more poll question. Britta, could you launch that? Awesome. How would you rate your current understanding of ServiceNow's accessibility products? So some of you are just generally versed in accessibility, but we do have products here that support our whole platform and you. And, um, you know, this could be your understanding of where to find the ServiceNow product documentation and things like that. Okay, great. Well, I hope that all of you register for my knowledge session because there will be an accessibility knowledge session when you join. We're looking for just a couple more participants and then we'll close this poll out. Great. Thank you so much. Go ahead and end that and then share. Awesome. So I'm happy to hear that a lot of people are, generally pretty confident with accessibility largely. But I'm also really excited to teach you a little bit more about accessibility here at ServiceNow. So I always like to just set the stage before we get started with the rest of our content here. The World Health Organization estimates that more than 1 billion people need one or more assistive products. And so when we look at this by the numbers, a lot of us work at enterprise organizations, commercial organizations that touch large members of the public. So we globally, we currently have an estimate of 1.3 billion individuals. So accessibility is not just for a small subset of like the community. It is really impacting a lot of individuals. So that's 16% globally, and about 1 in 6 people have assistive needs. And sometimes we don't always think of assistive needs, in a way that is very impairing, but an assistive technology that I use, a physical one, are these glasses I'm wearing. Britta wears them too. And so, we will all at some point in our life be a part of this demographic that will need to have some sort of assistance in our life. So I like to think about that when I'm working on the platform, when I'm designing, when I'm engaging as well. Great. So we're going to learn a little bit more about accessibility before we dive into just our general products here. So accessibility is shorthand called shorthand A11Y. You'll see this around the web. I think it's on like the title of my LinkedIn. And so this is the general shorthand for accessibility. So you're welcome to start using that in your life or educate yourself and your peers. But in the United States, our web content accessibility guidelines, or what guide all of our work and general internet accessibility. And accessibility looks different across the world. So you'll see here, Canada has the Accessible Canada Act, and Brazil and the European Act. And so I find that really interesting. But a lot of these are based around the WCAG standards that we have designed. And so these are designed to ensure that everybody has equal access to the internet and the tools that they need in today's digital world. Great. At ServiceNow, we focus on a number of different disabilities, and I would encourage you to think about these in your daily life as well, especially if any of you work with developers or when you're engaging with the platform yourself. So there are about 5 different categories. So there's visual disabilities, auditory disabilities, speech, cognitive, and physical. So these disabilities have, different categories. So when we think about disability, they're not all the same, as they are not the same way that impacts people, but sometimes they're permanent, sometimes they're temporary or situational. Um, and so, we encourage you to think about disability as not a defining factor of an individual, but rather a variable of their being. Something I always encourage people to talk about is it is the person first language, followed by the disability. So I am a person with a visual impairment. It is not a visually impaired person. So that's just a little bit of culture setting that I like to share with everybody, because I think how we talk about disability is also really important. And so, I would like for you all to just take a look at this graphic here and think to yourself, like, oh, is there ever a time where I fall into one of these categories, right? So it's like bright sunlight is a situational disability, right? Um, if you wear glasses, right? If you have ever broken a bone, that's a physical disability that was a temporary one that heals. So I think that, setting the tone with empathy really helps us to think about how our users, our end users, and your staff engage with the ServiceNow platform. So at ServiceNow, we are really proud of the work that we're doing. A couple of things that we are going to talk about today are the Tech Suggest Neurodiversity plugin, and then the apologies, the Now Assist panel. And we are also one of the companies that has been acknowledged for being a great place to work and being a influential innovator in the digital technology space as an employer and as people who are developing these tools. Awesome. So before we go ahead and get started into all of our session today, I wanted to take a minute to ask a couple of questions. So, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind sharing, how does accessibility enable an inclusive workforce from your perspective as a VP and a leader in the people space?
Yeah, I am happy to answer this. Yeah, it's interesting, I look at it in 2 ways. So my primary role as a talent acquisition leader is initially, how do we hire people here? And one of the things with accessibility, of course, is for candidates is making sure all candidates not only have an equal opportunity, but they feel like they have an equal opportunity. And what I mean by that is, and this is where accessibility comes in place. So, like, for example, for me, as somebody who is visually impaired, um, it's hard for me to read certain things, especially like if I'm using my phone. And through some of our tools, it really helps, like, for example, with the text one, where it allows me to increase the font size. By the way, for this team, Vicki showed me a couple weeks ago how our text assist tool works. And it's really cool because not only can it increase the font size, but you can increase the spacing between words. You can change the font on any app, or anything that you're looking at online. That really changes it for me because as somebody like, not that I'm looking for a job right now, but I put myself in the shoe of somebody who is visually impaired, is are we providing them that right equal opportunity, but also the good experience so they can fully read our job postings, or as we send them emails to schedule interviews or whatever it may be, that they have that equal playing field. So we're focusing on their skills, not the disability itself. And that doesn't matter if it's hearing impaired, visual impaired, mobility impaired. It's making sure we're providing that right experience. Now, putting that into the workforce and specifically to ServiceNow tools is the same thing for me. It's all employees, whether at ServiceNow or utilizing ServiceNow products, we want them to have a level playing field where they are accessing our tool just like anybody else. Now, how they access it might be slightly different. They could have, again, the text assist for visually impairment, the voice that we'll show later on. It's all about creating the equal opportunity, level the playing field. So again, you focus on their experience, but in the day, you're focusing on their skills, their abilities, not the disability portion. So short way of saying the long answer is it really levels the playing field for me through these tools that we're using. And I'll tell you, somebody who's been in the tech world for over 25 years now, the way we have tools right now is night and day different than 20 years ago. It really has leveled the playing field where I can just do my job, not so much about worrying if I can even see something.
Thank you, Jeff. That was really, really insightful. We appreciate you taking the time to share that. And also sharing your personal experience and, the experience as a leader, bringing people into this space, into ServiceNow. So I actually wanted to turn over to Brad for a second. So Brad is a developer manager. So Brad works with a lot of these amazing developers who, build and architect ServiceNow. So I wanted to take a second to ask you, Brad, like, how do you advocate for your accessibility, like within your organization, like with your team, and to create these accessible products, or or turn them on? And then how do you provide feedback to developers on accessibility, to think about it in a like constructive but yet supportive way? Because it might not be something that developers think of right away when they're working on the platform.
Yeah, it's a great, I'm happy to answer all of that. So like when I think of accessible experiences and how we can engage with our user base, what I think is really important to me and that I definitely champion to the rest of our organization, my team, is being able to empathize or at least sympathize with how users are going about navigating applications and the types of experiences and ways of which they're going to be interacting that would be most meaningful to them. When I was thinking about this, I think a lot about how our users want to make sure that all of their experiences with keyboard interaction are really front and center. We have a large user base that I think has come from a time in which you only had a keyboard to navigate an entry form. And so when we build our applications, we want to make sure that individuals are able to navigate with a keyboard, that as you're tabbing down or up a page, you're hitting each input that requires you to make some type of decision, and that it's not missing anything or inadvertently going to different parts of the page in sort of a non-linear fashion that would be a distraction or confuse anyone. And so I often encourage people to consider every user experience that they're building to make sure that they're trying everything out with a keyboard, because that's really fundamental to how our end users typically interact with a lot of applications that they're accustomed to using here and the new ones that we're providing them within ServiceNow. As far as like making our development experiences accessible and how I'm encouraging folks to think about accessibility in other areas. As someone who's neurodivergent, I I have a hard time reading large blocks of text. And so when it comes to thinking about providing instructions on pages, so if we're adding a hint above a field or below a field that we want somebody to perform some kind of action upon as an input, having clear direct instructions for them, and thinking about the verbiage that we're using is really important. I know um, I follow instructions very well, and sometimes I need that specific instruction um, to kind of instruct me on how I should be interacting with an application and um, the intended input that we want to have there. And so making sure that as we're reviewing the text that we're adding, that it's concise and that it drives the correct interaction that we want someone to have with our platform without being frustrated. I also think that means too, when we're writing code, we write a lot of JavaScript and use glide scripts quite often. And so adding clear comments that anybody who can anybody who's reading or writing code in the future knows what the intended context was, and what kind of features we were building, so that as you are approaching code and iterating upon it, you are getting a clear idea of what it is that you're intending to be implementing as a feature. And so that we're making sure that our code base is accessible to all developers, whether they have been working with this code base for 5 years, 10 years, or they just started yesterday. We're making sure that our code is easily approachable and accessible to anybody who's going to be working with it in the future.
Thank you, Brad. I really like how you talked about like, a neurodivergent accessibility feature. I think a lot of times we only think about physical accessibility needs. And I think it's great that you're building this into your platform, that you are ensuring that people are able to support providing the information we need for those tickets. Great. So that brings me to one of our exciting new products here. So hopefully for everyone who is not too familiar with some of our products, this is one of the ones we're really excited about. So we have voice put for AI agents. I know we've all heard a lot about AI agents and Now Assist and and AI. And so the voice input for Now Assist is an intuitive feature that is hands-free control with the Now Assist panel. And so what you are able to do with this is you are able to use voice to text controls in the platform for operations in the platform. So, what we hope that to benefit hope you get the benefit we hope you get out of this is improved usability and productivity. And so it'll transcribe your voice in the Now Assist panel, and then it'll use your voice with the skills that are already existing. So skills that you might already be using or know that you need. And so you see examples of those skills here. And then one moment, and I'm going to pull up our demo today.
Yay, we love demos.
Just want to make sure. Here we go. Oh, we have to log back in. 1 second. My instance went to sleep.
Oh, in the meantime, you can check out the chat. I put in a link there to our product docs site where you can learn more about the product from a technical perspective. And then I'm just now going to drop in another link on our community site, because if you are using these products, you want to engage with the other people on our community so that you can ask questions and learn from their experiences.
I apologize. We are just launching this
Well,
now.
while you're doing that, we do have a question
Question.
coming.
Yeah. If you're good, I was gonna start to answer that and then hand it off to Brad.
Oh,
Or-
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll answer the question and then we'll do the demo.
Yeah, so the question is interesting hearing from Brad and Jeff, any best practices for advocating and adding accessibility features in a company's product roadmap? As a non-techie, I'm going to answer it probably very differently than Brad. So one of the things I will call it that ServiceNow does so well, and I'm really proud, I brag about this a lot on LinkedIn, is we have an accessibility team led by, his name is Iman, and his team, honestly, constantly, when they found out that I was a leader who's visually impaired, They reach out to me at least 3 to 4 times a year just to check in, um, get my thoughts, show me any new products. Vicki now, with my new best friend at work, will show me every update. So part of it for me as a non-technical person is one, just making my voice known that I want to be a part of this and find out who are these people that, like at ServiceNow, we do have an accessibility team. Again, that's kind of the non-tech answer, but I'd love a more technical answer, Brad, if you can help with that part.
I'll give a kind of my opinion on maybe how this would work. Is if there's an opportunity to present a use case where if you work with somebody directly who would really benefit from having like an accessibility feature within ServiceNow implemented, and we can quantify like the metrics. So for instance, if somebody's having a hard time with like keyboard navigation, for us it may be an existing legacy application outside of ServiceNow, right, where it's not meeting current standards and it's more challenging to work with. The browser doesn't quite support everything that it used to rely on from older versions of, say, Internet Explorer. And we can show that, for instance, like in ServiceNow, by default, like Service Portal or Employee Center already has a lot of like keyboard navigation, keyboard accessibility features built in. So if I go into Service Portal and I hit tab, like we get that pop-up that says skip to main content or skip to content. And so I can quickly navigate down the page and start away at typing. If I can prove, like in terms of the number of hours I can save by not having to use an experience of one of which was in an older application and outside of ServiceNow, that took me hours because I had to constantly save and I had to reload my browser and clear cache sometimes. And instead I can just go into ServiceNow and the ability for me to go up and down a page within like a couple of minutes or maybe seconds and enter a lot of content, and that transforms my ability to like the velocity, I should say, of like getting work done quicker. And there's like a 25 to 30% improvement in speed and how quickly I'm able to get my like records submitted and then moved on to other parts of the work of our internal process workflows. I think having a story around that really helps kind of champion that to leadership who are making decisions about how to pivot and use new functionality that's built into ServiceNow, maybe in ways that we haven't currently thought about, accelerating those areas of the platform and our product roadmaps. So I definitely think like stories around like how we can save time and improve people's efficiency is the way that we advocate for that. And especially in my position where I'm able to advocate for, better, stronger, faster processes.
Thank you, Brad. That was really helpful. I appreciate the two different perspective as like both a user and like a developer manager. Those are some great ideas for other developer managers and also for platform owners and leaders and to encourage building an accessible platform. So I have an incident pulled up here, and we're going to show you, if you have Now Assist turned on, just how easy it is to use the voice input. So here we'll go. So we'll go up here, and then we will log in to, and then go over to preferences and scroll down to accessibility. And it is easy as turning on enable voice input for the Now Assist panel. So we'll just turn that on. So we'll see here. Awesome. So now we should be able to click on this here. And so I will reset our conversation so that we can start at the beginning. So you'll see the Now Assist panel has popped up. You all are hopefully pretty familiar with this. And so you'll see a microphone here. And then what we will do for the voice input, it's very intuitive to use. So once I click on it, I will speak my skill or what my request is from into the mic. It'll take a minute to generate, and then it'll produce an output. Summarize incident. So as you can see, it has populated with what I've asked it to do, and then you'll just click send. So the Now Assist panel is now looking into our request, and then it'll produce a summarized incident. So the feature is, pretty familiar, hopefully, with most users. I know that a lot of us have used some sort of voice activated tool. So here, there's a summarization of the incident and what has happened with the power failure, and then you can click show more. And we have different options of what you can do next. So I'm not done. I'm still working on this. But before I step away, I want to be sure that I put my work notes in, because we never forget to put our work notes in. And so we'll click on the button here. Oops, sorry. Hope it wasn't listening to that. Well, it was very sensitive.
Very helpful.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right, we're gonna try this one more time. Summarize work notes. Awesome. So now we're generating a summary of our work notes. This is so helpful in my perspective to add those work notes. I know that it really just saves so much time with all of your tasks that you need to do. So here, there's a summarization. And I think it's pretty good. And it'll provide the issue, the key actions taken, SLA information if you need that, and the affected CIs and services. So we hope that you found this demo helpful. I'm gonna stop sharing, pull up my slides again.
We have a lot of questions. So Susan wants to know if you have to purchase Now Assist skill first to use the voice input.
Susan, can I get back to you on that? I don't believe so. I believe that this should work with the skills that you already have in the Now Assist panel.
And Atul was wondering if it's only English support, or do we have other languages?
We are working on the other languages at this time. We have an amazing globalization team, and right now ServiceNow actually supports about 24 different languages. And so until I can get back to you with the languages that we are confirmed and supporting right now, but I know we are working towards supporting all of our languages that we support with our globalization and localization tools. Any other questions?
Yeah, Susan had a question about the voice prompt. Can you utilize it to find things in the system, like find a business rule that changes case status?
At this time, it is currently the pretty standard skills that we have generated. I'm always happy to test that with you, and then go ahead and ask our inbound product managers and confirm that.
That would be awesome. I know developers would love that. Bradley wants to know, do keyboard shortcuts on screen readers work with Now Assist?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And last question, joined late, in what release will voice command work?
Yokohama.
All right.
Everybody has moved to Yokohama, I hope, because we're so excited. Awesome.
Oh, wait a minute. We have one more question. Sorry, from Chad. He actually had the first question. How does voice input for AI agents work for agents/resolvers who use in-platform telephony? That might be going a little deeper than we were planning today.
Chad, I'm going to go ahead and ask my inbound product manager about that and then get back to you. I'd have to think about how they use the Now Assist panel, because it is only on the Now Assist panel. All right.
All right, so we're all caught up.
Great. So the next product that we want to share is Text Adjust. So this is, I saved the best for last, because this is a free tool that you all can download today for $0. We have made Text Adjust as a act of good corporate citizenship. So it is available in the ServiceNow store. So the user benefits is that you will have full control over the styling and the font replacing, font placement and text spacing. And so this was actually designed to support users with dyslexia or seeking, personalized web experiences for any visual needs. So this addresses the WCAG 1.4.12. So the standards, we work towards supporting our as a platform. So hopefully, if you were to install this across your products, this would support that for your organization as well. So helping your organization move towards accessibility and compliance. So let's see here. We are going to go ahead and demo that for you today. Sorry, Brad and Jeff, that we weren't able to take the questions on the last one. We were just running into time with the audience questions.
Much rather have audience questions. All good.
Yes, 100%.
Totally
Yeah.
great.
Great. I will go ahead and close out our instance and open this up. Okay. Can you see my screen? Great. So I like to use the example of chocolate chip cookies or any sort of cooking recipe. Sometimes at work, I'm just thinking about towards the end of the day what I'm going to make for dinner. And so our text adjust plugin is super easy to use and it works across Edge and Chrome at this time. You can download it from the ServiceNow store and we are working to release it in the Google Chrome store. So, for people who aren't ServiceNow customers. And so it is simple as after it is installed, clicking this button here, and then you're just going to click active. And then so I'm going to reset all of this. And then I'll go through each of these individually. So our font families were chosen because of their accessibility and their support to the community with those with visual impairments. One that I think is really interesting and cool that supports neurodivergence is the open dyslexic text. And so here you'll see that the text here down at the bottom of the words are just a little bit heavier. And so this makes the screen a lot easier to read for those that might have this need. And as you can see, this works on not just our platform. This will work on anything that your browser is accessing through Chrome and Edge. And then so here we have the text spacing. So we're going to take a look at this paragraph here. They're talking about these cookies and how delicious they would be. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change the word spacing. If it's maybe the end of the day, sometimes my eyes are tired and I just need a little bit more space between the words. Let's go ahead and change a different font just for you to see. Okay. And then, if I'm still struggling to view this information, I can also change the letters spacing here. So you'll see that the letters space out between the words. And then the line height. Maybe it's the end of the day and I'm reading a really long email or I'm trying to read a product doc to get some technical information and I'm just squinting because we've been online all day. You can change the line height. This one I think is really helpful for me, the line height, because it just separates everything out a little bit more. And then paragraph spacing as well. So this is only one paragraph, unfortunately, but you can see this here, the separation between these paragraphs. It'll create more space between. And then it will save your settings. And if I'm done at the end of the day, I don't really need this anymore, I can go ahead and just turn it off. And then it goes right back. And then if I turn it on, it has saved all of my settings. So you don't have to set it again, although you can edit it for how much support you do need here. Hopefully this was pretty easy to understand. And then we'll go ahead and we could change different fonts. But yeah, so all of this, I'm just checking out the comments here. Brad is one of the best resources in the ecosystem. He really is. And then, yes, so we can go ahead and share that as well for in the App Store here in the chat before we close out today. All right.
And Bradley had a question, can you list the fonts?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Can you list the fonts that are available in that?
Sure. Like in the chat?
Or I suppose we could get back to him later, but yeah, if you have a way to
Yeah,
extract.
I can share the font families that are available, or you
Because
could download the applications and see the font families that are available.
it's a
There she
lot of them,
goes.
right? There's a lot of
It's
different.
5.
Five.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's 5. I could pull it up here if you just want to take a quick screenshot, but yes, we can also share that as well. Okay. One more sec. All right. Any other questions before we move on to our questions
all we've got
for
right now.
our experts? Okay, great. So for text adjust, and Jeff, could you tell us a little bit about how, I know you're on the people team and compliance, like across organization is really important. And so one of the areas of compliance that most companies do strive to work towards is a 508. So could you tell us a little bit about how you think text adjust could align with 508 compliance?
I can. And for those, because this was new to me, I'm going to quickly read what Section 508 compliance is, just so we all are on the same page. I'm going to assume most of you know, but just in case. It refers to a set of standards that require federal agencies and organizations receiving federal funding to make their technology and electronic information accessible to individuals of all disabilities. Why that's important to me, both personally, again, and this is why I love having these conversations, because I talk to it from the perspective as a leader, but also as a user, as somebody who's disabled. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier, and this is so important to me. It really is leveling the playing field. Um, at ServiceNow, we talk a lot about ServiceNow and how we want to make the world, well, we say how the world works with ServiceNow and how we make the world work better. This to me is a great example of that, because through accessibility tools for those who are disabled, it makes them work better and the world that they live in much better. The other phrase I'll say a lot, again, it's leveling the playing field. As somebody who's disabled, I don't want any advantages or, significant enhancements. I just want an equal opportunity and equal playing field. Through accessibility, such as what we were just showing in this demo, it allows me just to be able to read the what's online or what's in the app or tool, just like everybody else. That's all I want. That's all I need. And that to me, why is accessibility is so important, because we talk a lot about being an inclusive workforce. And inclusive workforce to me can mean so many different things. Part of that is for people with disabilities is just having an equal chance to participate and be an active employee just like their peers. And through this accessibility, it allows us to do that while also aligning to the 508 compliance.
Thank you. Um, Brad, I know we've worked together a bit, and I understand your team has implemented text adjust, so not just yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about the reception of text adjust at your organization, and how your team has been using it, and any feedback that they have?
Yeah, I'd say the overall consensus from the team as they've been using text adjust has been that it's helpful for I think that's kind of what we were talking about. Maybe Jeff had alluded to earlier, was like the ability to change fonts and spacing and both line height and word spacing is really helpful for getting clarity around what you're reading. As somebody again who's neurodivergent and I have ADHD, reading for me can be challenging, and so the ability for me to space out words and paragraphs is really easy. It helps me. Navigate the platform and kind of intuit some types of tasks. If I have a task assigned to me and there's a big block of text in the short description, being able to parse through that easier just by increasing the line height gives me a better chance of resolving it quicker than if I were sometimes to be stuck at reading a large block of text and not really comprehending all of the things that I'm meant to kind of extract from that. And so, being able to have the option to modify the presentation of text has been really helpful for me. I mentioned in chat too that I typically have been using Open Sans, and I think it's been very helpful to like the way that the letters are rounded. for whatever reason, just feels really good for my eyes to lay upon, and being able to consume things a lot better as I've installed text adjust. So I highly recommend anybody who's interested to download the extension and add it to either Chrome or Edge. I'm not sure if it's supported in Safari, if any of you are Mac
An
users,
edge.
just Chrome and Edge.
Yeah.
But definitely give it a shot. It's been really helpful for me, and I would encourage everybody to use it.
Yeah. So I do see a question here from Gregor. Gregor, I would love to connect with you after this, so please add me on LinkedIn or send me an email. But yes, it does not cover all of the European Accessibility Act, but it is one easy step you can take towards being compliant. And then we can talk about the other tools that we have. We have so many more. Today, I just showed you kind of the new exciting ones that have come out with Yokohama. And so actually I will be sharing a couple other places where you can find out some of our accessibility information. So Gregor, this was the perfect question to help me segue. So first, you all can join the Now community. So the Now community has a really great bulk of resources. Start here, accessibility resources. You all know that this acronym Now stands for accessibility. So if you click on this, there will be tons of information that is provided to you here. Demo videos, how to prepare your products for accessibility, our public statements. So please join this accessibility community. You'll find a lot of great information. And then once you join the community, you should be able to join it right here. You'll be notified of all of the new up and coming sessions that we have and products. And we would love to get your feedback as well. So you could share your feedback. So we'll share the link to this in the chat. Thank you, Britta. And then our handy dandy product docs site. So here are our accessibility product docs. So we provide a ton of information on here, accessibility conformance reports, and then documentation for product accessibility. So a lot of great stuff here for those of you who want to, find out what other tools we have, because again, today was just sort of the highlights reel. We have many more. And then also you're welcome to, explore our .com page. So here we have a video about, how we view accessibility and, what our commitment is and our roadmap to accessibility. I believe that there was a roadmap question. And lastly, there is a product documentation page on Yokohama. So there's a bunch of accessibility features here and guides for how to utilize accessibility with Yokohama release. So thank you of those of you who have made it to the end of our session here today. I would like to ask you to complete those poll questions just one more time. It's great feedback for me and for the team about what you have learned. So now that we've completed today's training, just about our general conversation and a couple of our tools, how would you rate your understanding of web accessibility after this session? We hope that it was been helpful. I love the confidence very high. We love to see that. So, I think everybody has trended, positively from, the beginning of this. So I'm really, really happy with that. Another second or two to go ahead and click on the answer that you believe aligns with you the most. Great. Thanks so much. Okay. And then one more poll question before you all. We open up the room for a few more questions. If you are interested in this topic, I am personally always looking for user feedback, either, as your experience as a platform owner or your experience as a user or developer manager, or, a person that is engaging with our platform. So if you would like, I'm sorry, there's just a bit of a typo there. There's either yes or no, not now. But if you replied yes, please go ahead and share your name, your title, and your email address. I will reach out to you after this. Sometimes we have poll question, pilots, sorry, not poll questions, pilots that we launch. And we're always looking for people who are interested in this. Brad was one of our first users of Text Adjust, and internally, we launched, like as you heard, Jeff receives a lot of the information from our internal product team early on. So I'm so excited to see that there was a couple of people who are interested in supporting us. And you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn or via our emails. Our emails for the internal people here are first name dot our last name at servicenow.com. And we appreciate your attendance today. And now we have about 7 minutes left, so we can open up the room for some questions. I think I see one here. What are your favorite accessible features that haven't been mentioned? I'll start with mine. That'll buy other people a little time to think about it. It's our dark mode and theming. So that is really useful to me when I'm in the instance, and again, when my eyes are tired. So I really like dark mode and theming. Theming is another topic that I cover that I will do a session on at another time. Brad, do you have another one? Oh, and accessibility checker. So there's accessibility checker as well, so you can click on that. I hope I didn't steal your answer.
No, I mean, I think I would also go with like dark mode as well. I tend to set everything that I have on my desktop to dark mode settings. So anything in Chrome, and like my default is dark mode. Very helpful for my eyes. Like I think we were talking about how sort of at the end of the day, you kind of naturally need to give your eyes a bit of a break from staring at a screen all day. And so the comfort of, dark contrast really helps to continue to comprehend what you're reading without without the strain of all like the lighter colors or white backgrounds that kind of take away from your ability to really focus. So dark mode is really great. I would encourage you to either use the default dark mode, or if you have if you're creating your own themes, create a dark variant as well.
Great. Yes, we will be sharing a recording of this session. All of the information, as Britta shared, it will be posted on the blog post. Once you join the accessibility community, it will also be posted there as well. Please join the community. And so, I always like to kind of close out with this quote. So accessibility needs to be at the forefront and the core of every modern software experience. So companies should think about accessibility in the same way they think about security or performance, and make it a standard and part of their overall product development process. So, when you think about this on your product journey and you enable it and you build with it in mind, there's less time going back and patching holes and fixing it. And so this is a quote from our VP of Global Head of Accessibility at ServiceNow, Amen. He's a big champion for accessibility. We really do hope that today's session was engaging. And if you have questions, please post them in the community. Please directly reach out to me. So we will continue to roll out new accessibility tools and features, in different releases. We really appreciate you taking the time. And again, there will be accessibility sessions, at least one, hopefully, at Knowledge. Please sign up, or encourage your developers or your other admin or your leaders to come join to help encourage, the importance of accessibility across the platform at your organization. So we can also include a link to the ServiceNow store to the attendees here for the Text Adjust plugin. It's our free, gift to you for attending, and we hope that you will give it a try. Britta?
Yeah, thanks, Vicki. Great session. I see a lot of people putting comments in the chat and clapping hands, going up emotions. So it looks like you hit the mark with us. So thanks to Vicki and our panelists today, Jeff and Brad. Really appreciate those hands-on experiences that you can bring to the table for us today. We do have additional Ask the Expert series coming up, and I will just drop in the chat the link to my schedule that I have planned through April. So we have some other great sessions coming up, especially if you're planning to upgrade to Yokohama. We have 2 sessions on upgrading, one from a platform owner's perspective and the other from a technical perspective. And we also have one coming up on reporting, which I think is kind of an underutilized part of our platform, one on ITOM. So check those out. You'll probably find something in there that will be of use to you or somebody on your team. And also immediately after this, we close the webinar, you'll receive an email with a survey. I know everybody's sending surveys these days and we're all kind of have survey fatigue, but there's only 5 questions on there. You don't have to answer them all. But if you could just let us know how we're doing with these sessions and particularly this one, and also what other topics you would like to see us cover in these Ask the Experts, because these sessions are, by you and for you. We find experts out there in the field to talk about these topics. So please let us know what those other topics are. So if there's no other questions, I think we can go ahead and close out. The recording will probably be up tomorrow or Thursday, depending on how long it takes me to edit the video and get it up there, but it will be up there shortly. And I always do a post on LinkedIn when I've posted the recording. So any other questions last minute before we close out here?
Really appreciate all the insightful questions about
Yeah.
the content and just generally accessibility at your organization.
I like the interaction.
Yeah, great participation.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to see you all at the sessions. Coming up in the future, we have other webinars, knowledge sessions. Please follow our community for guidance and updates and all the new features. There might be other ones that are already included in your platform experience that aren't extra. So I know all of our leaders love to hear that this is free and supports our workers.
Free is good.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.